But on to history. I've had historian's training, and I think that history is really valuable, and especially how we approach it. And a lot of people in writing historical fiction or writing or reading seem to think that, one seems to think that it's about good historical fiction is, well, how many facts are in it? How many facts are in this book that are true? Yeah, so good historical fiction, the better it is, the more facts you manage to cram in. But to me, I think that's just completely wrong for so many reasons. And I want to start you with a quote from probably my favourites. My favourite historian, a guy by the name of Edward Howard Carr. He wrote about the 1920s, and his book, What is History? That modern historians are in danger of knowing more and more about less and less, being sunk without trace in an ocean of facts. And see, if all you do is engage with the level of facts, you're missing the bigger picture. And I think it's worth getting back to what history actually means. And being a Greek scholar, I'd like to give you the Greek form of it, which is all the way back to sort of Herodotus, Thucydides, this idea that history, it comes from this Greek word historia, which is, it means an inquiry. So history, in a sense, it's this inquiry into the past. And I think that's the crux of it. So rather than just being the facts, it's the historian in the present moment engaging with the facts of the past for some reason. It's this process. It's not just it's not a one-off thing. And so to me it's about history is always changing, history is always evolving, because the present moment keeps changing. And this is to me why time periods like this, like the ancient Greek world, the ancient Roman world, will always be engaging to people because we keep evolving ourselves. And so there are fresh challenges that we look to the past, in part, to try and help answer. And it's this level of this inquiry into the past, which in the end creates a historical narrative, separate to the literary narrative, but this historical narrative that, to me, is what history is about. And it's the level of history that I wanted to engage with. So facts are interesting, facts are important, do your research, but to me, I'm engaging with historical fiction from the level of the historian with the historical narrative. And so, what's that about? You could say, well, I'll give you two examples of what I'm doing with it. But just to start off with, the facts to me, I don't want to be enslaved to any individual fact. I consider the facts subordinate to that higher goal of the historical narrative and to the literary narrative as well. And so, those to me, they compete for sort of pride of place of what are you trying to get out of the narrative. The facts are always subordinate to both. So the first example of this is the historical time periods I've worked with, the three key moments. They're all within the Bronze Age, the Bronze Age world of ancient Greece, but they happen at different times, roughly a few hundred years apart. And yet I've merged them all into the lifetime of a single protagonist, even dare I say within about 10 years, which is, it's a very short thing to do, to close the historical timeline. But I don't feel that it detracts from what I'm trying to do, to present these periods to you. And so I was happy enough to sacrifice the historical time period, the timeline, for that goal, that higher goal of sharing these moments with you. And to take a literary example, for those of you who read the book, you'd know the first few chapters I have horses. So we've got some horse and cart that the Ariadne and her family travel on. And there weren't actually horses back in ancient Greece, or in ancient Crete at this time. And even in Egypt, so the period that I come to in Egypt, horses potentially just came in, but they wouldn't have been used as chariots by the Egyptians in the way that we expected. But either way, it's a literary motif that we're so used to. Yeah, this sort of horse and cart, this travelling image and it suited a plot device of how they were going to get from one place to another fairly quickly. So to me, I was aware that what I was doing was, in the face of the historical facts, but it was worthwhile from a literary perspective to have that travel, to have that motif that you were used to. So I think so long as you do your research and you know what you're playing with, you have the right as an author to pick and choose what facts are going to support both your narratives. And I want to get now to which sort of the key historical narratives I'm actually trying to push in my book. The overarching one is trying to give you the Bronze Age world in the gritty way that it was, in trying to give it to you as truthfully as I can in that sense. And so, and that permeates sort of the whole book, and rather than myth. But for each of the individual cases, I just want to explore a bit more. So the first part of the book, I'm trying to explore on Minoan Crete, just off Minoan Crete, there was an eruption on the island of Thera. In the modern world, we call it Santorini. And this was perhaps the most, well, if not the most cataclysmic eruption to ever affect human civilization. It is way worse than Pompeii, worse than Krakatoa, right next door to this flourishing civilization that it cut short in an instant. And to me, just trying to imagine what those people would have felt like, what they would have gone through at that time, it's an amazing thing to try and do. So I wanted to explore what would people who have no real understanding of modern science, what would they have done? How would they have felt coming across this utterly catastrophic event? And so the first third of the book is really trying to explore that from a historical perspective. In the second third, I'm trying to explore what's called the Second Intermediate Period in Egypt, but the Hyksos invasion. So basically, there are these foreigners who come into Egypt, they take over northern Egypt, the delta, all the good land, and they rule for a time. And you have this political tensions between the Egyptians and these Hyksos invaders who are in charge over it. And I suppose I'm trying to explore, in-group, out-group tensions and tribalism and this kind of stuff, but also even just the morality of, living in this horrible political situation, regardless of whether you're the oppressor or the oppressed. How do you act in a moral way when the situation you're in is already so messy? So that was another thing I was trying to explore there. And in the third section, in the land of Canaan, there's a few things I'm trying to explore. Partly that, again, that in-group, out-group pressure and dynamics, but also a key thing is we actually know who the Philistines were in the land of Canaan. The archaeology is in, shall we say. And we know that they were Proto-Greek peoples, probably Mycenaeans, but roughly speaking the same kind of people that I'm dealing with in the book. And it's not very well known. You hear it potentially in older texts of, they've got these people and they're in this land and we don't really know who they are. And to me it's really exciting to be able to connect the dots and to be able to say, well, we do know actually a fair bit of who these people are and what their culture is. And so I wanted to explore that with you and to make it known potentially in a more public way. The other thing, while I was there, while I was in the land of Canaan, I thought, well, why not have a crack at the history of Israel, the historical nature of the state of Israel, and so, the ancient state of Israel. And roughly speaking, there are two main historical, plausible reasons as to how they could have come into existence. Either they grew indigenously out of the local Canaanite population, or they came in from elsewhere. And the latter is perhaps more widely held, and it's something that does have a fair degree of support behind it from various people, and it's what I chose to explore. So I explored not only sort of the historicity of that, but also the culture of the people at the time, and really trying to engage with, as best we can understand, how they saw themselves and potentially how today we might see their culture as well from an outsider's perspective.